Okay, now it's recording. Okay, so basically we talked about the source systems and we talked about the MDM architecture, like how things are designed. We have talked till the staging table, and we have discussed only the cleansing feature. The delta detection, raw and reject functionality we have not discussed. Okay, so first of all, let me complete the cleansing. I just showed you the technical mapping. I mean, this is called as a mapping. This is called as a mapping. This is a very simple one-to-one mapping. This is a bit slightly complex mapping where you have multiple cleanse functionalities. Okay, anyway, I mean, mapping is something that loads data from a landing table to the staging table, and that's what it does. Okay, now there are, okay, yesterday someone asked me something about IDQ or ETL. Okay, now let's try to understand. I think yesterday someone asked me. So cleansing can be done in many levels. Let's say cleansing can be done in IDQ. Okay, so first step is you can also do it in an ETL tool, although ETL is not a specialist tool for cleaning data, but still you can do it up to some extent. You can do it in IDQ tool, or what you can do is you can use MDM. I'll go like this. The first option is you can go with MDM. Informatica MDM's functionalities cleansing. Else you can go with IDQ, ETL, IDQ or ETL with MDM, or you can outsource the complete cleansing feature to a IDQ or an ETL tool, or more specifically you can say IDQ or a DQ tool. I will say not just Informatica data quality, it could be Oracle data quality, or it could be anything. So basically you can do cleansing in any of these levels. So when I say Informatica MDM cleansing, it means cleansing will be done here. Okay, so in this first option, the cleansing will only be handled in Informatica MDM. We are not going to use an IDQ or an ETL tool. Okay, DQ or ETL tool. The second option is you use an DQ tool, okay, with MDM. You use a DQ tool with MDM. This is a hybrid option where you handle some cleansing in the DQ part, data quality part, and you handle the remaining cleansing in the MDM part. And the third one is when you go for a full-fledged data quality tool for to handle the cleansing. Now, which ones?
Sunil,
Yeah,
um, yeah, I just want to know, like, will you be explaining the scenarios where we're going to use 1, 2, and 3s?
yeah, that's what I'm telling you now.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so when to use where and who will decide that? Okay, see, first of all, this this decision is on an overall architecture. On an overall architecture means for one source you cannot use this, and for another source you use this method. That's not the thing. When someone decides to implement Informatica MDM, then the architect has to decide which one to go with. That is to use this one, to use this one, to use this one. Okay, that is the decision taken at the beginning by the architect. Mostly the architect is the person who will take this decision. Now let's try to understand on what basis an architect can take a decision to use which option. See, the first option is the best option, but it has its limitation. It's the best option. The reason is there are cost, because if you are doing the cleansing only in Informatica MDM, then you do not need a separate DQ team or a separate DQ tool as well as team. See, purchasing a tool is just, it's few $1 million. That's not a big deal. But maintaining a team and then paying every month for that, paying every hour, that's problematic. So here you do not have to. No additional team is needed. No DQ team is needed. Okay, so this is the most preferred method. So this is preferred till the data quality is normal. Okay, for example, if the data quality is okay, or normal, or you can say slight, it's not that bad, it's not really bad, then you can use this option. Okay, and gradually when we move ahead, this is something like it's a hybrid where for some sources the data quality is very bad, but for others it's normal. So what you'll do, you will create two types of logic. One logic you will create for all source systems, and for separate few some source systems you will create separate cleansing logic, because the data quality for those source systems are very bad, so you have to create logics for that. Okay, and let's say if your data quality is, I mean, it's really bad because you have very very diverse systems. For example, you have legacy systems. Normally when you have legacy systems, they lead to low data quality because of many reasons. So anyway, because if your data quality is bad, then you have to use a DQ tool. The reason is, see, Informatica's cleansing abilities are not very exhaustive. Not very exhaustive means, see, Informatica MDM is a master data management tool. It's not a data quality tool. Just try to understand what's a data quality tool. Data quality is a specialist tool that checks the data quality of the your data, and then it has the ability to correct it as well, to identify, to correct, to identify patterns. There are a lot of complicated things. So data quality is a very big thing. See, in Informatica MDM, very small features of data qualities are there, because the reason is Informatica is an MDM software, it's not a data quality software. But see, this is 1 2 3 is on increasing order. Increasing order means if the data quality is normal, use this one. If the data quality is normal for some sources, but for few other sources, if it is somewhat bad, then you can use go with this hybrid option. And if it is very bad, you must, there is no other option. Okay, if your data quality is very bad, you must choose IDQ. Now just try to understand, as we gradually move ahead, the cost of the project implementation increases. Here you need only Informatica MDM resources. Here you need a small IDQ team. Here you need an IDQ team plus an MDM team. That's a full-fledged IDQ team you need and a full-fledged MDM team you need. So this is almost like doubling the, I mean, it will double the cost. Okay, so I mean, that depends upon how much money client has and how much they want to spend on this MDM project. So this is, I mean, just I just explained you in 10 minutes how that happens, but practically that will take around 10-15 days, 1 month, 2 months to decide. Okay, so that's about IDQ and ETL. And see, ETL, where is ETL placed? ETL is sometimes used as a data quality tool also. I mean, if I have seen in projects, you can also use ETL to cleanse the data up to some extent. I mean, you can use IDQ with ETL. For example, you can create mappings in IDQ and export that to ETL. So up to some extent, you can use that in ETL. So basically, the main role of ETL, what we're talking about is when is to load data from the source systems into the landing table. That's the main objective of an ETL, as well as it's in and out. It's both ways. You will learn here also that once the data is created, then ETL is also used to publish data to, not in real time, in batch mode, publishing or sending data to third-party customers. So ETL for MDM, ETL is basically used as a like a middleware. Middleware means it's just a broker. So when you go to a hotel, there's a waiter. Okay, so you directly don't go to the kitchen and then you just start eating. You have, there's a waiter who does it for you. So similarly, Informatica ETL, any ETL is like a waiter for that. Okay, and there's some question, what's the difference between 2 and 2? See, that's what I said. The difference between this method and this method is, here the MDM's capability, MDM's cleansing abilities are not used at all. MDM's cleansing abilities, cleansing, and you can say MDM cleansing is not used at all. It means MDM cleanse abilities means you can see these mappings and all that, this cleansing features. This will not be used in MDM here anymore. This will be completely outsourced to IDQ. That's the difference between this option and this option. Here it will be used up to a limited extent, okay, but here it will not be used at all. That's the difference. Now that I think we spoke a lot about cleansing, so now let's move ahead to the delta detection. See, delta detection, you guys mostly you are from data warehousing or other background. Anyway, like if you do, I do not assume, as I said in the demo, that I don't assume that you have worked in any ETL or anything. I just assume that you have knowledge of SQL. Okay, so what we'll do is, see, it's very simple. Let's say I process 10 million records today. So I'm processing 10 million customers today, and tomorrow let's say I process 11 million customers. Now let's say there is a record name Sunil 1011 1001, let's say, and there's a record name Sunil K, and say that's a record name 10120 and Amit. Let's say, let's take a very simple example. Okay, and let's say Ajay. What is delta detection? I'm just telling you quickly. Ajay K. Now let's see the first day when you got, let's say, let's take not 10 million, let's take a very simple example of 3 records. This, your first day you had 2 records, and the second day you had 3 records. So let's make it very simple. So first day you are having 2 records, you got 1001 1010. Okay, Sunil, Ajay. Now second day you're getting 3 records, 1001 Sunil, 1020 Ajay, sorry, Amit, and 1010 it's Ajay K. Now you can see that Sunil is there in both the records. It means Sunil is a is already there. Okay, Sunil is already there, and there is no change in Sunil. So 1001, no change. Okay, and 1010 Ajay, Ajay is already there, but the thing is Ajay, here it is Ajay, and here it is Ajay K. It means Ajay's information has been updated, so Ajay will be treated as an update. When I say NC, it means no change. And you say Amit, you see Amit is not there in the first file, but he's there in the second file. So Amit will be considered as an insert. You will also learn the concept of deletes, but not, let's not make it complicated. There is also a concept of deletes. So basically, why do we do a delta? The delta, the reason is, first of all, let's say if I process this file, and again if I say just I take this full file and I process it, there's no point of processing this customer, especially 1001 Sunil. The reason is there is no change in the record. So let's say you load the Sunil record the first day, and again if you try to load it the second day, what's the point? There's no point, because none of the details have actually changed. Nothing has changed, and you are simply wasting your time by processing that. So to avoid that, we have the technique of delta detection. Delta detection, how it works is, we compare 2 files, 2 full files we compare. That is, let's say this is one full file, this is one full file. We compare it based on the primary key. That is, based on this we compare it. If it is there, already there in both the files, and nothing has changed, it's no change. If it's there in both the files but there is a change, that is, for example, this is Ajay K, this is Ajay, it means that's an update. And if it is not there in the first file but it is there in the second file, then that's the insert, or it's called as the new record. So if you would have worked in data warehouses or in any area, you uh, for example in ETL area, to detect this you have to create logics. For example, you have to create, join these two I mean load these two file into table, and then join these two tables, and then based on this key you have to write an expression. In expression you have to write big logics. But in MDM, it's everything is inbuilt. Okay, so it's already there at the heart of the software. You do not need to create any logic. All you need to do is you just need to choose the option. That is, if you just click the button, then that's configured for you. I mean, you just, I'll just quickly show you, because anyway that's, I'm just showing you so that you can correlate. In the staging table, when you create a staging table, Okay, so example, what you do is you just go here to the staging table. Okay, so if you click on this enable delta detection, it means your delta is enabled. That's very simple. It's simple as it is. I mean, all you need to do is just click on this. You learn about this. These are not any advanced options, but anyway, that's a separate topic. You are going to learn that later. But remember, if I click on this, it means delta is enabled. That's simple. So that's about delta detection and cleansing. Now let's move on to what's the concept of a reject table and a raw table. The concept of reject table is simple. If there is some issue while loading data from the landing table to the staging table. See, when I'm talking about loading data, I'm talking about the mapping. So what are the issues? You just, okay, I have not shared this file with you. I'll share that later. Okay, see, you learn about all these tables later, but in case if there is any invalid primary key, what's an invalid primary key? Invalid primary key means you're trying to uh, insert a record that has a different data type in the staging table, and you are trying to insert something else. Or let's say if you're trying to insert null value into a not nullable column, or let's say there is any data translation, if when you're translating the data, if there is any and data type mismatch error, okay, or let's say very simple, if you have duplicate error, duplicates based on primary key, or any kind of errors like that, those data will be rejected and they will be stored in the reject table. The as of now, just remember that the reject table is the staging table underscore rej. Okay, the staging table will be there, right? So the staging table underscore rej, that's the reject table. Okay, now that's a question. What's the question? Yeah, so the delta detection is similar to update else insert logic in ETL. That's correct. But the thing is, you uh, you have to create that logic in ETL, but here you do not have to create anything. So that's the only difference. Okay. Now, okay, so that's about the reject table. So let's say I process 10,000 customers. Out of 10,000 customer, let's say 5 customers are duplicate customers. Okay, then those 5 customers will be loaded into the REJ reject table, and the remaining customers will be loaded into the staging table and they will proceed. That's the concept of the reject table. Okay, now the raw table, just try to understand, a raw table is nothing but raw means what? It's raw is nothing but it's a copy of the landing table data only. Okay, so why are we copying the landing table data? What's the purpose of copying the landing table data? First of all, the definition of raw is copy of landing table data for certain amount of time. For example, if you go to this configuration, this is the place where you configure the raw table. So if I click on this and if I say one, if I let's say it's 3 loads, it means for 3 consecutive loads my source data, that's the landing table data, will be stored in the raw table. Okay, and if I say like week, let's say 1 week, then my source data, that is the landing data, is stored in the raw table for 1 week. Now what's the problem of doing that? Why are we duplicating data? The reason why we are not actually duplicating data, the concept is like this. The concept is, see, let's say there is some issue in the future. Okay, let's say there is some issue, you are facing some issue here, then how do you correct it? You have to backtrack it. Okay, so how do you backtrack it? Backtrack means going back. Like if there is an issue here, then you go like this. Okay, that's called as backtracking. But to backtrack, these are all truncated load tables. The landing table and staging table are all truncated load operations. Okay, so they are truncated every day. Now let's say if you want to, so if you are at this point, you want to go back to here, and here you want to backtrack, you want to see what was the data, what was the name of the customer in the source system. Okay, let's say if you want to find out. The problem here is, if you would have worked in with any source system or data warehouses, you can easily understand that the source systems, The most of the source systems are critical applications. Critical applications means they are mostly transactional, or you can say transaction systems. So transaction systems are very busy systems. You are not supposed to touch their system without informing them. And normally, uh, let's say if they allow you to touch their system, they'll give you time frame of 2 hours per day. That is, like, let's say normally after business hours, let's say 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Okay, you should not touch their database before that or after that. All you can do it, you can just access the database in this time frame. So that's the first problem. And the second thing is, the database, your source system, could be completely heterogeneous. Okay, heterogeneous means your database, your MDM database could be in Oracle, but your source database could be in vsam COBOL files as well, or could be in legacy systems, anything. It could be XML file or anything. Okay, so it becomes very complicated to again access the mainframe system and to check the functionality. So what we are doing is, if in case we are expecting some issues, then what we do is we preserve this, we configure this raw table for at least 1 or 2 loads. Okay, so if there is any issue, we can easily go back and look here. We do not need to go to the source and then do it. But the problem here is the data will be duplicated, and um, the total space that is needed to create the MDM solution increases if you use raw concept for all the tables. So don't use raw concept for all the tables, only for some important tables just use the concept of raw table. That's the concept of raw. Okay, okay, now we are done in the we are done about the mappings, that is loading data from the landing table to the staging table. That involves this four things. Now the yesterday I talked about three tables: landing table, staging table, and this thing that you see here, this is called as the base object. Base, BASE, base underscore object. And base object is the most important table that stores your master data. Okay, so the load, data load, and again I'm telling you one more thing. The reason why I'm repeating this thing is, this is important. Until unless you don't understand this, you will always be confused. Landing table, there is always a single landing table, and staging table depends upon the number of sources. Let's say you have 10 sources, so 10 staging table. Base object, you're going to have one base object. That is a concept. So let's say you had previously 10 source systems. Now let's say you decide to integrate one more source system in your MDM. Okay, you try to pull one more system into your MDM. What happens is, you are only going to, the only change that is happening is, you are only going to create one staging table. Okay, one staging table means one staging table and one mapping, because the number of mappings, okay, let me put it this way, uh, the number of mappings will also be the same as the number of staging table. That's the concept. The number of total number of mappings that you are going to have is same as the total number of staging table. So here the development strategy, development method becomes quite simplified, because in order to add a new source system, all you need to do is just you need to create a staging table and you need to simply map the data. You do not need to do any change. So within a week you can integrate very large source systems with your MDM. That is the advantage of using a very simplified strategy. Okay, now so here you have multiple staging tables. They will be loading data into the your uh, base object area. So remember, there is no concept of mapping here. The mapping concept is only between landing to staging. There's no concept of mapping now, but the loading of data from staging to base object is one to one. Apart, the only thing, there are only three things that happens apart from that one to one load. That is application of trust, validation rules, and something that is not mentioned here, that is lookup translation. Okay, trust, validation, and lookup translation. Okay, let's talk about this one by one. Trust. What is trust? Trust is very simple. Let me open the architecture diagram. Yeah, this diagram, sorry, not architecture. See here, I have given this example to tell you what is MDMs. This prepaid, postpaid internet are all source systems, and they are merged together, united, or you can say consolidated to create the first record. That is the master data, unique version of truth. It is fine that, see, there are two processes involved in creating a master data. Basically, two processes. Okay, one is identification of records. That is how do you identify that this customer and this customer, John and John Smith, are actually same customer? That's called as the identification process. And second process is actually to merge them, to merge these records. So when you merge two records, who is going to survive? For example, let's say if I merge John Smith and John K Smith, then which one to keep? Should I keep John K Smith or should I keep John Smith? Okay, I cannot just choose this based on the fancy name, because let's say if I feel that John K Smith looks like a complete name, so it doesn't mean that I'm going to use this. Okay, how will I identify? How will the computer identify? That's more important, because it doesn't matter how I identify, it's important how a computer system will identify which one to keep. That is the mechanism. We are talking about trust now. Trust is something we give scores. Okay, for every column we give scores. For example, the score of this is 60, 70, 80. For prepaid, let's say it is 60. For postpaid, let's say it is 70. And for internet database, let's say it is 90. Then this John K Smith is going to survive. That is a simple, that's the simple, the simplest concept of trust. And trust is something that has to be configured for every column. It means it could happen that the among all these three records, you can see that the name is taken from the internet database, whereas you can see that the address information was taken from a postpaid database. That completely depends upon the trust configuration. I'll just show you how it looks like so that you can correlate. Okay, in, I mean, load the data model. You, if you are unable to understand, if you have any doubts, then you can ask me, and that's fine. What are the types of trust? The trust is of only one type. I mean, there is no type of trust as such. It's one type only, but you need to configure it in many levels. That is minimum, maximum. You can also say decay period. We'll talk about that, but it's basically of one type only. So you can see here MLO, credit card, CKR. So let's say I have these three source systems. So I configure the scores 60, 70, 90. Remember, we are talking about a particular column in a table. See, remember, trust, again I'm telling you, trust is not on a full table. Trust is column wise. For example, this is a table. This has 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 columns. So we are talking about trust configuration for all the columns. So you can have a configuration here, and when we go here, the configuration could be completely different. And when we go to the name, the configuration could be completely different. So let's say, let's take this example. Here what is going to happen is, if there is a fight among these four records, that is if you're getting four records simultaneously, then this record is going to survive. That is the concept. And on what basis these numbers are all decided? That is completely based on, I mean, business. The business has to tell you, the business will tell you that this source system, admin source system, is more important than this source system, and it's more important than these source systems. So based on that, you, the business analyst, has to create the trust. For example, uh, this is from Eli Lilly project. I'll show you the trust document. Okay. Okay, you can see this. I mean, for every column and for every source system, for example, just see this. This is a column, and how many source systems you have? You have this many source systems. Okay, around 20 source systems are there. For all these 20 source systems, let's say for this source system, if I choose, then this is the setting. This is the trust 90, 90, and 40. You just forget about all this. Just concentrate on the max. Okay, because anyway, trust we are going to cover later. So you can see the trust for this is 30. Okay, so I just, anyway, we'll cover that later, but I just give you an example. Yeah, it's very important that you choose the trust properly. What happens if you choose the trust in an like in a careless manner? What will happen? Let's say if I just randomly if I give scores, then what will happen? I don't know which is going to be the survivor. So that is completely wrong, because what is the definition of master data? Definition of master data is creating the best version of truth. BVT, that's called as the best version of truth. What is best version of truth? Best version of truth doesn't mean just creating a single customer. For example, just merging all these three customers and creating a single customer, that's not the best version of truth. Best version of the truth means taking the best from every system. Okay, so if there is an apple store, there's an orange store, there's an coconut store, you take the best product, best apple, best coconut, and best orange. Okay, that's the best version of truth, creating the master solution. And to understand that, you must know from which supermarket you are going to get the best apple, and from which supermarket you are going to get the best orange. If you know and you assign the scores, then only you can get the best version.
Sumit,
Uh-huh.
I have a question. So typical MDM projects will have average of 15 to 20 sources, right?
Yeah, 15 to 20 source systems.
So these sources will have corresponding trust score being set by the BAs, right? It's
Correct.
not us that we need to suggest, right?
No, I just showed you, right? This will be done by the, this is prepared by the business analyst only.
Okay. And so the trust score. Yep. Okay.
Okay. And can we import trust into settings that we are looking in MDM from Excel? No, you cannot do that. You have to manually write that. Okay, now let's go back to the architecture. Okay, so that is about trust. Validation is something you will get confused with validation, but just remember as of now, because if I tell you in detail, I cannot tell you in detail because we are in the architecture class. I'll just give you the brief. Just try to remember and do not think much. See, validation, when I talk about validation, this validation and the validation that you have in your mind are different. I mean, because most of you people are from data warehousing background. So in data warehousing, what is the validation we do? We say that if the name is coming as null, then put it in this target table. If the name is coming as not null, then put it in this target table. So that's the validation, kind of validation we do in warehouses. Here the validation is completely different. Here the validation is, if the name is null, then reduce the trust score. Okay, if the name or is invalid, let's say if the name or ID or some column is invalid, then reduce the trust score. So basically here validation is all about reducing the trust score. It's not about rejecting customers, or it's not about writing data into a target or something like that. It's all about reducing the trust. For example, if you feel that the name is invalid, you can create a validation mechanism so that the trust for that is automatically reduced, so that you make sure that that customer is not accepted in your MDM. Okay, so that's the concept of validation here. And lookup is very simple. Lookup, don't, you don't need to get confused. Lookup is very simple. See, when we talk of a data model, there will be two things. There will be a parent and there will be a child. In any data model in the world, you are going to have this. That is, you're going to have a parent and you're going to have a child. Okay. So what's the relationship between a parent to child? Normally it's one to many. Okay. Now, the main concept of parent and child is, first you load data to the parent table and then you load the data into the child table. That's the concept. That is called as referential integrity. In the world of data modeling, that's called as referential integrity, okay, or in databases. So what's referential integrity? Loading the data first into the parent and then into the child. And if you try to insert the data into the child first and then if you try to load it into the parent, your job must fail. Your job should not succeed. Okay, that's called as the referential integrity, and that happens normally via the foreign key relationship. That mechanism is ensured via the lookup. That is called as lookup translation. Okay, lookup is a big topic which we will cover in, it will take a full class, okay, to cover this lookup. But basically on a high level, that's what lookup is. Okay, it's just all about ensuring the referential integrity, okay, between the parent and the child. And for people who are from data warehouses, a simple example is, in a dimension modeling you have dimensions and you have facts. Okay, you load the dimension data first and then you load the fact data. So this concept is similar to that, but I'm giving an example. It doesn't mean that compare this dimension and facts with the MDM data model. This is completely different. MDM data model is completely different. So once that is done, then data is loaded into the base object. One interesting thing to note is, see, we have not talked about identification yet. It means I did not talk about identification yet. It means I simply took these three customers into my landing table and then moved these three customer into how many staging table? Three staging table. In one customer in one staging table. Okay, because staging table is for every source. Then from all these three staging tables, I load the data into the base objects. Now what's the problem? The problem is, you can see that we are loading duplicate data into the MDM. So what we have done is, we have loaded duplicate data into MDM. So the first point to note is, initially, that is the architecture and the process. Initially, you are going to load the data as it is. That is, if you have duplicate data from source, you are going to load the duplicated customers in your MDM. Later, we are going to deduplicate. Deduplicate means reverse of duplication. That's the removing of duplicates. Okay, so what we are going to do is, initially we are going to load all these three records. Okay, this prepaid, postpaid and internet, all these three records we are going to load into the base object, and then we are going to run the deduplication. Okay, the interesting thing to note is, now we are going to talk about a flag that's called as a consolidation indicator flag. Okay, you learn all about the consolidation indicator later, but it is important for you to, if you do not understand, just remember and just mug up. Okay, because this is very important. Consolidation indicator flag. Consolidation, what is a consolidation indicator flag? Consolidation indicator is a system column. System column means, so when you create any table, so these are all the base objects. Okay, for example, you learn later, these are all the base objects. You, doesn't matter, you create any base object. Okay, in any base object, if you, so there will be a column called as consolidation underscore ind. It's not possible to create a table without consolidation indicator. Okay, now what is this consolidation indicator? Consolidation indicator is an important flag, because initially when you load the data, the consolidation indicator will be 4. 4 means new. First time when you load the data, the status will be new. Gradually that will change to 3, then it will change to 2, okay, then it will become 1. 1 means master record. Okay, now let's try to understand this more. Okay, see, initially means, I just told you John Smith, 3 example of John Smith. All these 3 John Smiths will be loaded initially. Okay, that is as, and the status will be 4. That's the initial concept. Later the deduplication process run, and the deduplication, this 3 to 1 will be changed by the deduplication process. That is, when you start the match and merge process, what will happen is, these records will be queued for match. Queued for match means it's simple. I mean, these records are new, and before the matching process starts, they will be queued for matching. Okay, so before you take your food, you have to go to your dining table and you have to sit there for 5 minutes. So that's like the that's the example. Okay, so before you start the matching process, the customers will be queued for matching. And who will be the customers who will be queued for matching? Only those customer which have a status of 4. So if there are customers which are already having status 1, because of previous loads, they are not going to participate in this process now. Okay, once it is queued for matching, then here the matching will happen, and the customers will be identified. Okay, so when we go to here, the customer identification is done. Remember here, matching is done. I will say matching. When the status is changed to 3, then the matching is done. What's matching? Matching means customer identification. How one customer and another customer, if they are same or they are different, that's called as customer identification. Okay, it's very simple. For example, here, what is customer identification, or technically we called it as matching. What's matching? We match this customer set with this customer set, and we have a result that if they are same or they are different. That's simple. So matching is done basically, and when the status becomes 2, matching is over. Matching is, it's, I'll say, executed. When we are here, the queued for merge, once the matching is executed and results are ready, here results are ready. Results are ready means the system knows, Informatica knows that this prepaid, postpaid, internet, the John Smith, John K. Smith, all these 3 customers are same or not. By now, when the status becomes 2, Informatica already knows that if they are same or they are different. Okay, and but remember, when we are at 2, the Informatica only knows that they are same or different, but still the consolidation has not happened. Identification is done when it is 2, identification is done, but consolidation, that is merge, has not happened yet. When the merge happens, then it becomes the master record. What is merge? Merge means squeezing. So you squeeze all these 3 to create the best version of truth. That is the merging. Okay, once you merge the data, what will happen? There are no duplicates anymore. The duplicates are eliminated. So here duplicates are there, here duplicates will be there, here also duplicates is there. The system knows, even though the system knows which record is same as the another record, but merging is not done yet. But when it becomes 1, then merging is done, and only the best version survives. The remaining duplicates are deleted from the system. That is the process, overall architecture of Informatica MDM. Now let's go to the architecture again, and let's try to
Sunil,
correlate. Yeah,
before that, can you go back to the previous slide? So when you say the concept of merge, that means you're picking up the one that is shaded in pink, right? For the corresponding columns.
yeah.
Okay.
Merge is basically, see, merge is creating the best version of truth. Best version of truth means, you see, there are 3 records: prepaid, postpaid, and internet. 3 records you are having. Now you must create one record out of these 3 record. And when you create one record out of these 3 record, you take the best name, you take the best address, you take the best date of birth. That's about creating the best version of truth.
Got it. Yep. Thanks.
Okay, now let me complete this
Yeah,
architecture.
Sunil, I guess that's based on the trust value that you define for the source.
Yeah, that's correct, exactly correct. That's based on the trust value. So using the trust, the system will identify which one to keep and which one to reject. Okay.
Sunil,
Yeah, Venkat.
Sunil, I mean here also, it's, I mean for one column we are taking it from one system or one right. So it is also kind of arbitrary, right? Say based on the trust value, you are getting it from one one say table, but that table might have, say, for example, 70% of the records good. At the same time, 30% might not be good for the address. Say, for example, address, you identified one table where the address has got a good 70% good,
I understand.
but you are importing.
Venkat, I understand your question, but what you're asking is row level configuration. Row level configuration is not possible. For example, if it is John, then take it from this, and if it is Sunil, then take it from prepaid database. That level of configuration is not supported. First of all, you do not need it, and let's say no MDM software in the world supports this kind of row level configuration, because it's very expensive, from performance point of view.
So basically, I think all the profiling will be done on each column and try to come for a trust value on each of these sources.
Yeah, so you have to do the profiling on each of the source systems. Okay, I actually plan to give a brief on profiling, but I don't think we can do it today. So anyway, we'll do it tomorrow, where I'll tell you how this identification, what is profiling, and how identification of data is done, what is data pattern and all that, so that you can understand and correlate. But basically, yeah, profiling will be done before that, and based on that, we'll identify. For example, let's say if you do a profiling, let's say this is a profile report. So when you do profiling, then you can understand how is the data. Okay, for example, let's say if I want to integrate this source system with my MDM, then I must understand what is in there. Okay, so for example, this has this many rows, and total distinct is this much. So this is very good. Very good means you have 100% unique. When you have 100% unique data, that it means it's very good. Let's take another example. Let's say this name, you can see that there are many duplicates here. Okay, total unique is this much, you have lots of null, so you have a data quality problem here. You have to analyze more and understand what's the data quality problem, and then see this name is not trustworthy. It's very simple. Even a layman can say that this name is not that trustworthy. The reason is it's null, because if it is unique and if it's distinct, then that's trustworthy. If it is null and all that, nulls are not trustworthy. So in that case, what I can do is I can reduce the trust for this particular column. That is how the business analyst identifies how to give it a higher score or to give it a lower score. Okay.
Hey,
Hi,
Satish
Sunil.
here. Quick question, right? Duplicates can be in a column level or in a row level, right? So for a column level duplicates that coming from a single source, so the expectation is MDM process does not do anything to that. That would be a true statement.
Column level duplicate, row level duplicate. I mean, what's a column level duplicate?
So what I mean is, say, every source system has a primary key.
Primary key, yeah.
I'll say yeah, but the source is really bad, like how you were talking about the bad level of the data, right? I say 100 and 101, 102, everything is unique, but in that one says Satish K and one says Satish Kumar, and so what I'm saying is whatever be the ones which we are comparing one row against other row, it's fine. But what if such kind of duplicates come from the single sources itself, right? We are very much relying. Yeah.
Correct. So matching,
will that be handled or not?
Yeah, that's correct. Matching is of two types. First thing, this is how the matching will happen. Let's say you're getting 10 records. Let's say you're getting 10 records. Okay, and let's say 1011 Satish and 1012 Satish K. See, these records will be matched with your MDM records, as well as these records will be matched among themselves. If there are any duplicates, they will be eliminated. Okay.
That's nice. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, someone else was asking some. Swati, right?
Yeah, Sunil, my doubt was that one only.
Okay, fine.
It got cleared. Thank you.
Okay, let me, we don't have much time today. Let me complete, not complete, but let me just correlate this consolidation indicator with this diagram, because this you will not remember this notepad, but you will always remember this, I mean, picture, because picture are very very good to I mean, they easily stay in the mind. So initially when data is loaded it is 4. Gradually when it is queued for matching it becomes 2. Okay, and then when it is the matching is actually done and the system knows that these customers are actually same or different, then the status becomes 2, that is queued for auto merge. And see, merging will be of two types. I'll tell you about that. Okay, merging means consolidation. There could be automatic consolidation, there could be manual consolidation. Two types of consolidations are basically there. I'll talk about that later because I think you still have some doubts, so I'll just clarify that. And finally the master record is created. Okay, let's finish the class today, because I think some people still have some more doubts, and we'll pick up from this topic here. Okay, and we'll try to complete this thing tomorrow. We will try to see the architecture, how Informatica is a 3-tier architecture. Okay, how things are designed, that we'll see tomorrow. And also this architecture, how is the interface design, that we'll try to complete, and then we'll see the data model tomorrow. Okay, so we have some 5 minutes that is reserved for doubts. If you have additional doubts you can go ahead and ask.
Sunil, so if in a project, if we have like 20 or 25 sources, can we start implementing this project in like 3 phases, where we start with 5 sources first, and then if it's good, then we take the next
See,
5? Is it
first,
possible?
the approach of MDM is you don't start with 5 sources or 25 sources. You have to start with a single source first. Once you
Okay.
integrate that source, you keep on adding other source systems. To add a source system, it takes around at least 1 month, because you need to create the code, you need to migrate it, testing needs to be done. If once everything is ready, then it's go live, and then there could be, if it's a full file, if there are performance issues that needs to be tracked, it's a lot of thing. Okay, so minimum time that
Okay.
is it is going to take for one source will be 1 month. Okay, at least. If you are
Okay.
able to do it in 1 month, I would say that's great, because I have seen people who take around 3-4 months to integrate one source system. But remember, the approach is you don't take 3-4 source systems and just put it in your box. That's not how you do it. You take the first system, you integrate that, you take the second system, you integrate that, then you keep on integrating every month, you keep on integrating. And as a developer, as an architect, that's your responsibility. To As an architect, you must make sure that when you integrate new source systems, what is the impact to your current MDM? That's the main responsibility as an architect. And as a developer, the main responsibility is how to integrate. That is how to create staging table, mappings, and all that.
Okay.
Hey,
Thank you.
Sunil, Pawan again, quick question, right? Sorry, I mean, I should not be asking these questions in the middle, I guess. I should let you continue, I guess. So if you get, initial classes, can you give little more time for question and answers, and we won't disturb you. We'll ask you all the questions at the end, Sunil, so that you can continue the flow. But when you said this, I'm getting more questions. So the source, right? If I'm having one source might not have all the columns that finally the base table is showing up, right? So say we are starting with a simple source. Simple source is not having any data, right? Like if you see, even this, Gmail is asking you to have your phone number and your secondary number and your SMS, things like that, right? So Yahoo might not have it. Just throwing an example. And
Correct.
now I'm working towards working data. So what I'm saying is that one source might not have any columns at all. But
Correct.
if you are starting with it, then now what? I'm landing. I'm fed
See,
up with. I have to
correct.
deal with my landing.
No,
Yeah.
that's correct. I'll tell you the first thing. What you asked is correct, and that's not even a valid. I mean, this is what happens in production. So this is a completely valid scenario. You will have, let's say, source CKR that has only 4 columns. Let's say they contribute data to only 4 columns. You will have, let's say, source system name MLO. They contribute data to 100 columns. Okay, and let's say there's a system called as MCCS that has 1,000 types of data. So your architect will decide the columns in your base object. That is, which are the mandatory columns that we need to keep in the base object. So first, a base object is designed. So let's say 70 columns, 70 types of data or columns we are going to store in the base objects. Okay, so in here, in this case, what we'll do, we'll only map these 70 columns. We are going to neglect the remaining columns. Here also we are going to do the same. Here we have to see that we just map the 4 columns, and if there are any mandatory columns, then we need to populate it with the default value. That's the objective. But these 70 columns, the decision will be taken by the architect in the beginning based on the business need. The business will tell you that we need all these details. We need the name, we need the ID, we need the contact details, we need the phone number. All those things business will tell you. Based on that, you are going to create a base object.
So basically the model has to start from the base table to the staging to
Correct.
the landing.
Yeah, the model has to start from the base object. That's the best way to do it. But technically speaking, you can create a landing table and a base object independent of each other. But the best way is to create a base object and to map the data based on the base object.
Yeah, that's what basically the business has to identify all the key business elements.
Correct.
And based on that, the model will be designed and reverse engineered to the landing.
That's correct.
Hey, yeah, thanks, Sunil. Thanks a lot. Sunil, also, right, I think we are really distracting you from teaching your course. So could you please, maybe initially give 20 minutes for question and answer and just go ahead. We won't even, I mean, if everybody agrees, we won't even disturb you. So that, on many of the questions you can answer.
See, the thing is, first of all, there's no, it's not about disturbance. The thing is, you should be comfortable regarding the architecture. So you see, and in this training course, you can ask me doubt at any point of time. I am habituated to that, so I won't feel disturbed. That's not that's not a problem. But if you want it this way, if you want me to reserve initial like 5-10 minutes for doubts, then that's fine. I'll do it like 5-10 minutes for doubts we'll have. If you have no doubts, then we'll continue the session. And last 5 to 10 minutes, normally I reserve last 5 to 10 minutes for doubt also. So we'll do it that way from tomorrow. So if you have any doubts, just note it down in a notepad and ask at the beginning. Okay.
So we can make it as a 3-phased questions in the beginning, middle, and last.
As long as you are comfortable, so I don't have any issue. I mean, you can ask. I'm open with doubts. You can ask any doubts you want. Okay, guys. Then we'll finish it for today. Okay. So tomorrow same time. Okay. Thank you very much.
Sunil, one other question, Sunil. Monday I thought we are starting it today. It looks like I missed a class. So
yeah, yesterday had a class, so you missed the class. You can send an email to this ID. I'll send you the recorded session for yesterday.
Okay, thanks.
That's my mail ID. You can send me an email on that.
Sunil, can you share the recording with everybody? I mean,
I shared with you, right?
Did you share it?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't think.
Okay, no problem. I'll share that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, guys.
Sunil, one last question. This is just one last. How is MDM different from this PIM?
MDM?
MDM different from PIM?
MDM is PIM is product info management. That's a specialist tool for product domain. Okay, that's a specialist tool for product domain. Whereas they are very similar, so that's why there is a confusion why they are different. But basically, product infrastructure management is it's a special thing that you implement if you are implementing a product domain. You can also use an MDM solution with a product domain, but if you use a product PIM, that's much better than an MDM.
Okay.
Okay, so but remember, PIM is a separate tool. Okay, it's not part of MDM or something. It's a separate tool.
No, can we model the same product information in this MDM?
Yeah, you can also do that. But PIM provides more facility related to product domain.
No, this is also multi-domain.
Yeah, this is also a multi-domain, but the PIM is a specialist MDM for product domain. So if you want, you can also do it in MDM, but if you want more features, it's like if you are a retail company something and you have infinite number of products, it's better to go with PIM rather than product domain of MDM.
So what is this mainly used for then? Is only for customer modeling,
No,
for customer MDM?
PIM is only product, and this can be used for anything. Customer, yeah, mainly this is for customer, but this can also be used for product and all that.
Right. I mean, just saying, Sunil, seconding your opinion that few products have a lot of visibility, and few products don't need that kind of visibility, right? If you look at hierarchy here, you have like 10,000 items going into one thing. The hierarchy here would break, you know. Other
Correct.
tools we have seen, like I have seen, they cannot support, you know, so rich text and all that with the growing records. Few tools cannot, so they'll build new tools so that they can support it. Like that.
Yeah, that's possible. See, product domain can be configured. For example, I'll just show you this product domain. This in ORS sample, you have both customer and product domain, but PIM is a separate and it's a specialist tool for, product domain. I mean, they both have lot of similar features. So, I mean, I feel moreover it's a marketing strategy rather than, that. But anyway, it's a specialist tool for, it provides a lot of features not related to even MDM also. So this is a product domain. You can also configure a product domain in an MDM. Okay, this is a product domain. Okay guys, then we'll meet tomorrow. Okay, thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thank you.
Thank you, Sunil.